What's going on, everybody? It is me, Dark7, and I'm going to hit you guys with another video. This is like kind of an impromptu video because I felt that it was an important need for something like this. One of my, well, let me go ahead and get right into it. One of my subscribers made a video and they were doing a little bit of a do-it-yourself install with some RAM in their PC. Well, I saw a few mistakes that a lot of people often make, and they're not cognizant of how much damage they could do to their PC, or actually how they could actually destroy their PC by doing these things. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. And what I'll do is I'll start the video, and while the video is playing, I'll stop it periodically so you can actually we can talk about it. Okay, so right here, right off the back, we have one mistake. No, actually we have two mistakes, or three if you want to really get technical about it. This person is about to open up their PC and start working with it. Right off the back, what I see here is this guy is wearing a metal ring. A metal ring is conductive. Conductive means that it carries an electronic charge easily. Also, what I do see here is that the PC has not been unplugged. So even if you turn the PC off and there is no power applied to it right then, with it being plugged up, power still is being applied and still coursing through the power supply, in turn going through the capacitors that are on the motherboard. So since he didn't unplug it all the way, then those capacitors are still carrying electric charges. Since he has a ring on, that ring also can actually, let's say that he reaches in, it would cause an electrostatic discharge. I guess to teach you guys about electrostatic discharge, best I can do is say, like, when you were younger, you used to rub your feet all over the ground in a carpeted room and then touch something metal and a little spark would shoot out. That is an electrostatic discharge. Electrostatic discharges can actually cause catastrophic damage to microscopic components. A lot of times, or actually all the time, motherboards have traces on them. So I'm pretty sure you guys have all seen PCBs or what's called a printed circuit board, and they have traces on them, little small lines, and those are the lines that electricity or signals are sent along. So if you have an electrostatic discharge and it hits one of those traces, you might not be able to see it with your naked eye, but it will damage that trace and in turn cause catastrophic meltdowns or catastrophic damage to electronic components. So sometimes your stuff's not working and you can't figure it out because you actually can't see it. Let's go ahead and push it forward. I could talk about the cigar and dropping foreign objects inside of a motherboard or PC encasing. Also, smoking around a PC on a regular basis can actually damage it over time because of the tar and the toxins that are carried within the smoke get pulled in through the intake and basically rest upon the electronic components that are inside of the PC. Go ahead and push it through a little bit here. So at this point, I think he's just kind of talking a little bit, not sure what he's talking about, but I can tell you guys, some of the mistakes and everything without actually having to hear the audio. And again, a big thing, make sure you're unplugging that PC, because if you don't, you got electricity still going through it, you could really hurt yourself. A lot of power supplies, they start off around 450 on the low end, 600 watts, 800. Sometimes they can go up to 12 and 1300 watts. You don't want to be reaching inside of an electronic device, especially a PC with that type of power running through it. All right, so right here we see that he's got the RAM that he's going to install. And let's see, I'm not sure. It looks pretty, like some pretty cheap RAM. Maybe probably pretty slow. I'm thinking looks like some DDR3 RAM most likely. So that would say that the PC is probably pretty old too, probably around 2013-ish. Looks like maybe an old HP workstation or something like that. Let's see. Let's see if he pulls it up and we can actually see what the RAM is. Because he's got a light there for some reason, even though there's light already in there. Doesn't seem like he knows how to work it though. It's cool. All right, right here we see it says a 16 gigabyte kit, 2x8. So yeah, those are two 8 gig sticks of 16 gigabyte RAM. I want to say most likely it's probably about 1600 megahertz, which is pretty slow. Inside of my personal system, I run 64 gigs at 3600 megahertz because you need some pretty fast RAM to be running the games that I run at full high-end settings. But for him, if he's just like browsing the web, looking things up, looking up information, and maybe even some low tier streaming possibly. You can probably do it. It looks like it says it's a DDR3 there. But yeah, if you're just doing some web browsing, nothing strenuous on the system, then you can probably run like 16 gigs or maybe even 32 gigs at 1600 megahertz speed, but that's pretty slow. On the last video that I made on the bench test, I think at that point the manufacturer was running at 2133 megahertz. All right, so yeah, right here it is. I was right. DDR3 1600 megahertz. So now, if you have a PC and you decide to throw a lot more RAM into it, that's fine, but it's not really going to help if you have a CPU and nothing changes as far as hardware wise with everything else, because what you end up doing is causing what's called a bottleneck. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. So I see it has an old school mechanical drive. Yeah, this PC is pretty old. Just looking at the motherboard, the graphics card, the PSU or the power supply, and it looks like a blower there, right here. So the CPU is going to sit right there. There's right there. You got your CMOS battery. You got your blower. It's going to pull air through the system and then keep the CPU cool. And then you got your copper heat sinks right there. Just going to pull this up right here. Yeah, it's an OG mechanical drive. Probably should hit the inside of that with the compressed air, kind of clean it out a little bit. So right there, you see the DIMM slots where he's gonna mount the memory. He does have 2 free clear spots, so chances are that those sticks right there are also 16 gigs at 1600 megahertz. If they're not, and they're different speeds or different brands, there could be an issue. You never want to run 2 separate different speeds of RAM in your PC, because that could really jack some things up. So hopefully he goes ahead and sets that in. Again, don't wear metal rings or like metal watches or stuff like that when you're doing installs inside of your electronic components, especially your PC, because you can mess things up. That is a extreme noob amateur mistake. Oh yeah, hope you guys like the relaxing music. That is some stream music that I found that's copyright free, so I don't have to worry about getting hit with the copyright strike or anything like that on the video, because the video is being supplied with music by copyright free music. And so it seems like he's got it all hooked up. Again, we were talking about that CMOS battery earlier. The CMOS battery is usually on your board. It looks like a watch battery right there. So since he just did an install of RAM, a lot of times, and I want to say probably 100% of the time, what you want to do is we want to reset your CMOS battery. And what that is you have your system unplugged, you take that battery out, wait about 30 seconds to a minute, and then you reseat that CMOS battery back in. And what that's going to do is going to keep you from having a lot of issues later on, because you can have some startup issues. Literally, if you have a dead CMOS battery, sometimes it'll cause your PC to not even turn on or power on. So you want to keep a couple spares of those on hand, but they tend to last pretty long. Go ahead and keep it going. And now we got a really clear shot of the PC. Yeah, that's pretty old. I want to say that's probably like an HP, like a 2012, 2013, 2014 model. Most likely a workstation. It's not a high-end PC at all, but it'll get you through. You can browse the web, you can possibly low-level stream, but nothing strenuous. You're not gonna be playing any like Apex Legends or Destiny 2 or anything like that on high-end settings. Let's keep it going. Smooth music right here. I like it. All right, so at this point, usually what you want to do is reseat all of your stuff, because you're messing around in there. You could possibly unplug some things. You can see that he's got a little bit of tension on that back SATA cable right here where it's kind of slanted. You got your power and your SATA. So your SATA power is right there, and then your what's going to actually read and send signals and information back and forth from the drive is going to be right there. It's kind of slanted, so you want to reseat all that stuff before you close your system back up. Not sure what's going on with this that wooden block down there at the bottom. It's kind of weird. Then again, he may be in an older house or whatever, so it is what it is. Gonna go ahead and put that side panel on, and I see the it's kind of crooked right there. I hope he fixes that. Don't force it, buddy. All right, still got the ring on. That trip right there. Might want to get a little bit of lotion for that that ashiness there, sir. All right. Oh man, got a lot of stuff going on. Wow, right there. All right, so people are out there. You see this here? This is what's called a fire hazard. You never want to plug too much stuff into your PC, or you never want to plug a bunch of stuff into a surge protector because you can end up causing a fire hazard or overloading your surge protector. You want to go to like one of the hardware stores or even some like computer stores or even Best Buy and get a heavy duty surge protector to make sure that you're not going to overload your system, overload that surge protector, and possibly fry your system or even catch your house on fire. That's very dangerous. Guy, if you're watching this, I hope you fix that. That's it's not safe. Got a lot of stuff plugged in there. All right, let's see what we have. It looks like we have a an error message. Let's see. Boom, boom, boom. Memory size error. Yes, he does have a memory size error. System memory size is different from the last startup. The most common the most common issue with that is you've either removed RAM or you've added RAM, but you did not go into your BIOS. Every computer or every motherboard is going to have a BIOS. Again, referring back to my video when I did the bench check, when you do a startup, oftentimes, if anything has changed in the system, it's going to give you an option to go into your BIOS. Once you go into your BIOS, you can set up your things like your RAM, your speed. You can actually monitor your CPU temps and also your system temps based on your hardware. So at this point right here, what he should have did was turn the PC back off and then turn it back on. And at this point, if he didn't go ahead and press the button, he can go ahead and press most likely F1, delete, or F2, send him into his BIOS where he can actually tell the computer that, yes, I have new RAM in here. Please enable it. If the PC turns on and he goes ahead and starts it up in Windows, you can check your stuff and it could possibly tell you that you have it installed. But will your PC be able to utilize it because you may not have directed it to do so in your BIOS? Let's go ahead and kick it through a little bit. It looks like he has a memory issue or a memory error that he didn't fix, or he didn't specify in the BIOS. So it'll run, and more memory will actually help, but very, very marginal if you haven't changed your CPU as well. And with a PC that old, I'm not sure. If you don't change anything like your CPU, now let's stop here. So Microsoft 10 Pro, good deal. And you can see at the bottom there where he's got his memory, physical memory, and RAM. So the computer is recognizing the RAM being installed, but if he still gets that error, he might want to reset the CMOS battery like I was talking about earlier, cutting your power completely off, opening up your side panel. Cutting your CPU off. My Alexa's trying to do something. Anyway, cutting your computer off and then unplugging it, open up the side panel, take the CMOS battery out for about 30 seconds to a minute, and then plug it back in or reseat it, and then you can power everything back up. Once it powers up, you're going to go to your BIOS and tell the BIOS that you do have more memory and give the PC, enable it to actually access that RAM. But again, if all you have is one CPU and you add more RAM, you're not really causing performance to go up. All you're doing is saying, hey, you got more space to pull from, but your CPU, if it's already bogged down, let's say you got like maybe a four core system, it's not really going to help it much. So like right there, we see that it has a Hewlett Packard or HP, probably running an i5 or an i7. So adding more RAM is not going to help because chances are it's going to be like a 4-core system, maybe 6, and it's not really going to do much. But let's go ahead and keep it going. Yeah, that's a pretty weak PC there by today's standards, but it's enough to kind of get you around. Like maybe most likely old people or people who are just looking to look on Facebook and you know, kind of read articles and stuff like that. Maybe a little bit of streaming, possibly some YouTube. You can do a few things on it, but not much, nothing high end. Now, back in the day, back in 2012, 2013, when this something like this was out, it was top of the line. But for today's standards, 2021, not really. This is pretty bargain bin type stuff right here. Yeah, it's kind of strange. So what we want to do here is what I'm going to do is we just got through talking about different RAM and stuff like that. What I want to do is I want to close this. Yeah, I'll close this here. Yes, I want to download in progress. I'm not downloading anything. Yeah, I'm not downloading anything. All right, so what we're gonna do is we want to open that up, and I'm gonna open up Chrome. And let me see, we're gonna adding that and go to an article here that I had pulled up at one point. So, does adding more RAM to your computer make it faster? And pretty much we can sum it up in about 7 minutes. Actually, I can play that, or I can just go ahead and tell you. So right there at the on the picture, it says adding more RAM will make your programs run smoother, but up to a point. Any additional RAM has no effect on the performance of your computer. So let's say that I want to stream and I want to do some multitasking and stuff like that. Let me get this picture out of here real quick. Let me close that one. Close that one there, and close that one there. You see, I got one more image I need to close off as well. We'll close that. So basically, you got your CPU, you got your RAM. Chances are that the RAM that comes with a pre-built computer is what it can actually take. And it's pretty much balanced out right there. You got two sticks of 8 gig RAM, 16 gigs in total. And I got my i5, i7 or whatever running. So let's say that you got your car engine, right? You got your regular car engine, and then you don't change anything else. It's not going to move any faster. It's not going to make it run any faster. You get new tires, but you got like the same 4-cylinder. You put on new exhaust, but you got the same 4-cylinder engine. You put on like everything else that can make the car look good, sound great, but all you have is still the same engine. It's not going to make it move any faster. RAM is random access memory. Sure enough that your PC can actually randomly access that memory at any given time because you're wanting to multitask and do more things. But since your CPU is still the same, it's not going to actually move faster. Like right here, it says if you think of your PC as a factory assembly line, the RAM is like the workbench full of parts. ROM, read-only memory, is a warehouse storage, while the CPU, central processing unit, is a worker tasked with turning the parts into finished product. RAM, ROM, and CPU function as a team. If one of them is slow, the whole computer will become slow, and that's what's called a bottleneck. A giant workbench is not going to help an exhausted worker. True, the CPU would be your worker. So the bench would actually be your RAM. It says right here, and a fast worker is going to have a rough time if he or she doesn't have the effective amount of space. So similarly, the most cutting edge CPU on the market will be consistently bogged down if there's a lack of available RAM. But an excess of RAM won't do any good for an aging CPU that can't work through this fast enough. So that's basically in a nutshell. If you add more RAM, that's fine. Your PC looks a little bit better. It may run a little bit smoother, but that CPU, if it's still a little bit older, it's not really going to help much as far as your performance goes. So you could still end up having those same issues that you were having before, and you basically just wasted your money. If you're going to change one thing in your PC, chances are you're going to have to change a bunch of other things. Like if I change my RAM, matter of fact, my RAM personally for myself is fine. If I want to change my CPU, then it's actually going to boost the performance. If I want to change my graphics card, my GPU, it can change the performance. But luckily, I've balanced everything out already, and everything works very good together. Now, if I do decide to upgrade my CPU and do decide to upgrade my GPU, everything will still run fine because my RAM is extremely fast. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell. yeah, hopefully you guys are not making these common mistakes. And if you are, hopefully this video has helped you. And you can make better choices in what you do and upgrading your PC. If you have any questions, make sure that you subscribe and leave a comment in the comment section. And I will be more than glad to help you guys do anything you got to do. So without I got anything else to say, honestly, that's the video. I want something to eat. I think we got some tacos downstairs. But other than that, this is your boy Darth Skater 7. And I hope that my video was informative, and I hope that it helped you and helped everything make sense as far as like building PCs and doing things yourself as far as the installs. So other than that, I will see you guys in the next video. Darth Skater out. Peace.